find the dissociation constant Ka of a weak monobasic acid which is 3.5% dissociated in a n by 10 solution at 25 degrees Celsius. Okay, we need to find out the value of dissociation constant Ka, which gives the measure of the acidity. For weak monobasic acid, which is 3.5% dissociated, and the normality is n by 10 normal solution at 25 degrees Celsius. So now it's a monobasic acid. Okay. So what will be the N factor for monobasic acid, that is weak monobasic acid? Okay. See, the N factor for an acid is the number of replaceable H positive ion by 1 mole of the acid. Over here we are talking about weak monobasic acid. That means the acid is not completely dissociated, okay, to give us H positive ion. Hence the N factor for weak monobasic acid, for example, if I take the case of boric acid, it is 1. Okay. So over here, N factor, first of all, I want to talk about, because I will be converting the normality into molarity. So N factor for weak monobasic acid will be equals to 1. That means normality divided by N factor is equals to molarity. Hence, molarity becomes equals to 1 by 10 molar. Okay, molarity, or you can see the concentration, it becomes equals to 1 by 10 molar. First thing, I have done this only. Now, if I talk about the dissociation for the acid, suppose I am taking weak monobasic acid as HA. I have taken HA as a weak monobasic acid. Okay. So, basically, HA is in the aqueous solution, which is 3.5% dissociated to give us H positive in the aqueous solution plus A negative in the aqueous solution. Absolutely right. Initially, let us consider the concentration of HA be equals to C and the concentration of H positive and A negative be equals to 0. But at equilibrium, when 3.5% of the acid got dissociated, let now the concentration of HA be C minus C alpha, and the concentration of H positive and A negative will be C alpha and C alpha. Alpha is the degree of dissociation that has been given to us, that it's 3.5% dissociated. Okay. So, molarity we know 1 by 10 molar, and over here at equilibrium the concentration for HA is C minus C alpha. For H positive it is C alpha, and for A negative it is also C alpha. Okay. Now, what is alpha given to us? It is 3.5% dissociated. That means 3.5 divided by 100. So, alpha, that is degree of dissociation, now becomes equals to 0.035. The value of alpha is this only. Okay. Fine. No issues. Fine. Now, if I just calculate out the value for Ka. So, Ka is equals to how much? Ka is equals to how much? Ka will be equals to the concentration of the product, that is H positive, A negative, divided by the concentration of the reactant, that is HA. Now, what is the concentration of H positive? It is C alpha. For A negative also it is C alpha. For HA it is C minus C alpha. Okay, so it becomes C square alpha square upon C within bracket 1 minus alpha. C cancels out 1 C. So it becomes equals to C alpha square upon 1 minus alpha. Ka. Now what is the value of C concentration? So concentration value is actually equals to given to us as 0.1 molar. This is the concentration. Okay, substitute it. So Ka is equals to 0.1 multiplied by the value of alpha, degree of dissociation, which is 0.035 whole square divided by 1 minus 0.035. Okay, so it's 0.1 multiplied by 0.001225. So when you make the square of this 0.035, you'll get your answer as 0.001225, and 1 minus 0.035, it becomes equals to 0.965. Okay, take the approximation and you'll get your answer equals to 1.269 multiplied by 10 raised to power minus 4. 1.269 multiplied by 10 raised to power minus 4 is the dissociation constant Ka value for weak monobasic acid, which is 3.5% dissociated in N by 10 solution at 25 degrees Celsius. Okay, option number A is the right answer. For this particular calculation, it's very easy. Just take the approximation and you'll get your results out. So this is the right answer to this particular question. Question here is, a solution of 200 ml of 1 molar KOH is added to 200 ml of 1 molar HCl, and the mixture after attaining reaction equilibrium shows a rise in temperature by delta T1. The experiment is repeated by using 50 ml of 1 molar KOH and 50 ml of 1 molar HCl, which at equilibrium shows a rise in temperature by delta T2. Thus, which particular option is the right option? That means which particular expression given to us and the relation given to us is the right relation. We need to find out. Okay. So basically over here, KOH is a strong base and HCl is a strong acid. So you might have studied about heat of neutralization. Okay. Since over here we are given with strong acid and strong base, so over here complete neutralization is going to take place. Now when complete neutralization is going to take place, that means the heat of neutralization for strong acid and strong base will be equals to 57.1 kilojoule. Clear? Absolutely right. Okay. You can say minus 57.1 kilojoule. Why I'm actually mentioning negative sign? Because it's over here the heat released. Now this is the heat released by breaking of a bond in acid and a base. Clear? And this is known as heat of neutralization. Okay. Can you observe one thing over here? That for the first process, we are talking about 200 ml of 1 molar KOH, which is added to 200 ml of 1 molar HCl. For the second process, we are talking about 50 ml of 1 molar KOH and 50 ml of 1 molar HCl. That means in this question, what has happened is, for the second process, the volume is 1/4 the volume of the first process. In the first process, we are taking volume as 200 ml, and in the second process, we are taking the volume as 50 ml. So in this question, for the second process, the volume is 1/4 the volume of the first process. Therefore, we can also say that the heat of neutralization for the second process will be 1/4 of the first process. Over here in both the processes, we are taking strong acid and strong base. That means complete neutralization is going to take place. But the volume change is of 1/4. The volume change is in the terms of 1/4. The volume of second process is 1/4 the volume of the first process. That means heat of neutralization for second process will be 1/4 in comparison to the first process. Okay. So basically, what should I do with this thing? Okay, now over here I can say and mention that heat of neutralization, I represent it by Q, which is equals to mc delta T. Okay, Q is the heat, M is the mass, C is the specific heat, and delta T is the change in temperature. We can say rise in temperature also, and over here it's delta T, the change in temperature, the change. Okay, so over here if I just talk for the first process, so heat of neutralization for the first process is Q1, and if I talk about the mass, of the solution for the first process. Now, if we are talking about neutralization reaction, always remember and keep this particular thing in your mind, that for neutralization reaction, the solution which we are taking is considered to be as a pure water. The solution which we are taking is considered to be as pure water. And for pure water, we'll just say one thing, that the volume is considered to be the mass of the solution. Volume is considered to be as the mass of the solution. Always remember, for the neutralization reaction, the solution which we are taking is considered to be as pure water, and the volume of solution is considered to be as the mass of the solution. So over here, the total volume of the solution for the first process will be 200 ml of 1 molar KOH and 200 ml of 1 molar HCl. So the total mass becomes equals to 400. Mass become equals to 400 grams. Is it clear? Is it clear or not? Yes. So 200 plus 200 is equals to 400. Okay. So I just told you that the volume is considered to be as the mass of the solution. So it will be 400 grams. So it's 400 multiplied by C, the specific heat, and let the rise in temperature, okay, for process 1. It has been given to us as delta T1. So I'm going to write it as delta T1. So from here, the value of delta T1, it is for the first process I'm taking. Okay, it is actually equals to Q1 divided by 400 multiplied by C. Let us write it as the first equation which we have derived. Okay, and this was for the first process we have talked about. Okay, clear. Where the complete neutralization has taken place, because over here we are talking about strong base and strong acid. Talking about the second process now. Over here now. Okay. Now for the second process also, we'll say that the complete neutralization has taken place. But over here the volume is 1/4 the volume of the first process. So over here heat of neutralization B equals to Q2, which is equals to MC delta T2. MC delta T2. Now over here the rise in temperature is of about delta T2. Now what is the mass of the solution? Mass of the solution will be 50 plus 50 equals to 100 grams. Okay. So it will be 100 grams over here. Multiplied by C, the specific heat multiplied by delta T2. And it is over here Q2. Now for the second process, I told you that the heat of neutralization will be 1/4 the heat of neutralization for the first process. Reason being because the volume for the second process is 1/4 the volume of the first process. And if it is so, and if it is a complete neutralization taking place, that means heat of neutralization for the second process will also be 1/4 the heat of neutralization for the first process. Now I can write, since heat of neutralization Q2 for the second process is equals to 1/4 the heat of neutralization for the first process. Reason being, the volume for the second process is 1/4 the volume of the first process. Therefore, heat of neutralization will also be 1/4. We'll substitute this particular expression over here. So it becomes Q1 divided by 4 equals to 100 into C specific heat into delta T2. So now the value of delta T2 from here comes out to be equals to Q1 divided by 4 into 100 is 400 multiplied by C specific heat. The value of delta T2 is Q1 divided by 400 into C, and the value of delta T1 is Q1 divided by 400 multiplied by C. So this is expression number 2. If I compare equation 1 and equation 2, comparing equation 1 and equation 2, comparing equation 1 and equation 2, we can say that delta T1 is equals to delta T2. Delta T1 is equals to delta T2, which means option number A is the right answer to this particular question. Okay. No other option is the right answer. Only option number A is the right answer to this question. Question over here is, de Broglie wavelength of an electron traveling with speed equal to 1% of the speed of light is. De Broglie wavelength of an electron traveling with speed, that means V. Speed, that means over here I'm talking about V. Okay, is equal to 1% of the speed of the light, which we represent by the term C. Okay. So according to de Broglie equation, we have one expression. According to de Broglie equation, we have one expression for wavelength, that is lambda is equals to h upon mv, where h is the Planck's constant, m is the mass of the electron, and v is the velocity. Clear? Fine. That means speed. That means you can see the speed of the electron. Fine. Or the velocity of the electron. So de Broglie wavelength of an electron traveling with speed is equal to 1% the speed of the light. Clear? So what can I write over here is, first of all, that mass of an electron is equals to 9.1 into 10 raised to power minus 31 kg, and velocity is velocity is 1% the speed of light. Velocity is 1% the speed of light. Clear? That means V velocity is equals to C into 1%, or you can say C into 1 by 100, which means it is 3 into 10 raised to power 8 meters per second multiplied by 1 by 100, which in turn is equals to 3 into 10 raised to power 6 meters per second. It is the value of V velocity. Okay, fine. We also know the value of m, mass of an electron. H is the Planck's constant, and the value of Planck's constant is 6.6 into 10 raised to power minus 34 joules second. Substitute all the values over here and you will get the result. So basically, lambda is equals to Planck's constant is 6.6 into 10 raised to power minus 34 joules second divided by the mass of the electron, which is 9.1 into 10 raised to power minus 31 kg, multiplied by V velocity with which the electron is traveling, and that is equals to 3 into 10 raised to power 6 meters per second. So first of all, we'll be converting joules into kg, meter square per second, because 1 joule is equals to 1 kg meter square per second square. So it means it is 6.6 into 10 raised to power minus 34 kg meter square multiplied by second over here, and now this particular second will go in numerator. So multiplied by second divided by 9.1 into 10 raised to power minus 31 kg, okay, multiplied by this particular second square, okay, because now it's in the denominator, multiplied by 3 into 10 raised to power 6 meters. Now kg second square cancels with this kg second square, and 1 meters cancel with the 1 meter over here. So over here we are left with 6.6, okay, divided by, let's do the approximation for 9.1, make it 9 only. So it's 9 multiplied by 3. Talking about the power of 10 terms, so it will be into 10 raised to power minus 34 plus 31 minus 6. Okay, so it's 6.6 divided by 27 multiplied by 10 raised to power minus 9. So when you'll just calculate this particular expression, you'll get your answer as 0.244 multiplied by 10 raised to power minus 9 meters, which is equals to 244 multiplied by 10 raised to power minus 12 meters. Converting it into picometer, so 1 picometer is equals to 10 raised to power minus 12 meters. So it becomes equals to 244 picometer. Clear? So the value of wavelength lambda is equals to 244 picometer. This is the approximate value because we did the approximation, that's why. So our answer matches with option number C, 242 picometer. So we'll just mark this as our right answer. So de Broglie wavelength of an electron. De Broglie wavelength of an electron traveling with speed equal to 1% of the speed of the light is 242 picometer. The right answer to this question. Identify most acidic hydrogen in the given compound. Okay. What we are seeing over here is that initially there is the presence of two groups, C double bond O and NH group present. Okay. So basically acidic strength is actually directly proportional to electron withdrawing tendency. Electron withdrawing tendency of the groups present. Acidic strength is directly proportional to the electron withdrawing tendency of the groups present. If I talk about the electron withdrawing capacity, so electron withdrawing capacity of C double bond O group is more than the electron withdrawing capacity of NH group present. Okay, now if I deprotonate this HA proton, if I just deprotonate this HA proton, I'll get the negative charge over here. If I'm getting negative charge over here, this negative charge is having on both the sides the electron withdrawing group C double bond O group. Now these C double bond O group, they are having higher electron withdrawing capacity. Moreover, this negative charge will be stabilized by resonance also. Okay, how come we can say by resonance? See, what I mean to say over here, that we'll be talking about the mesomeric effect. So mesomeric effects are called as resonance effect, but not resonance effect are not called as mesomeric effect. Okay. Now, since negative charge is present over here and it's having two electron withdrawing groups on both its side, so mesomeric effect is defined as a effect which produces the polarity in the molecule by the interaction of two pi bonds, or you can say by the interaction of a pi bond or a lone pair of electron, or you can say a pi bond or a negative charge present on the adjacent carbon atom or any atom. Fine. So over here there is a negative charge present on this carbon atom, and moreover what is going to happen is that there will be interaction between the negative charge present on the carbon atom and C double bond O group. Okay, so on both the sides, we are having C double bond O group having the higher electron withdrawing tendency. So it is going to stabilize the negative charge present over here on the carbon atom with the help of mesomeric effect, negative mesomeric effect you can say. Where in case if I talk about the removal of this particular proton having a negative charge over here, no doubt nitrogen is having the electron withdrawing tendency, but in comparison to C double bond O group, it is having the less tendency to withdraw the electrons. Since the question is asking us identify most acidic hydrogen in the given compound, so the most acidic hydrogen in the given compound will be that particular hydrogen after removal of which the negative charge gets highly stabilized, and that is proton A. So we'll mark HA as the most acidic hydrogen atom. Option number A is the right answer to this question. Which one of the following options is correct? Okay. Greater the Ka value, greater is the acidic strength. So over here, we are talking about Ka, pKa value, acidic strength relationship. Yes. So acidic strength is directly proportional to Ka value, which is actually directly proportional to the stability of the conjugate base formed. Stability of conjugate base formed. Or you can say stability of anion formed. Okay. So acidic strength is directly proportional to K, which is directly proportional to stability of conjugate base formed. Basically, if I just take an acid get dissociated into H positive plus A negative ion. Now, if I just want to write the dissociation constant expression, so Ka is equals to concentration of H positive ion multiplied by the concentration of A negative ion divided by concentration of HA acid. That means more is the concentration of H positive ion, more will be the value of Ka. Now, how the concentration of H positive is going to increase? If deprotonation gets easier, that means if more is the extent of, I can say extent of deprotonation. Okay. So more is the extent of deprotonation taking place, more will be the H positive ion concentration in the solution, more will be the acidic strength, more will be the Ka value. See, acidic concentration, H positive ion concentration is directly proportional to Ka value. If the concentration of H positive ion, if the extent of deprotonation is higher, that means Ka value is going to be higher, which means acidic strength is higher, which means stability of conjugate base formed will also be higher. Fine. That means greater the Ka value, greater is the acidic strength. Absolutely right. Greater the pKa value, greater the acidic strength. No, because Ka value is inversely proportional to pKa value. Okay, why? Because pKa is equals to negative log of Ka. That's why. So option number B is wrong. Smaller the pH value, greater the acidic strength. Yes. See, pH is equals to negative log of hydrogen ion concentration. If value of pH is smaller, acidic strength will be greater. That's absolutely right. Both A and C are right. Yes. Option number A is right and option number C is right. So in turn, we can say that option number D is right because both A and C are the correct options for this question.